Alright, this is a quick one on an updated guide on the 2014 Void Linux. So they fixed the, at least in post install, if you use the XFCE installer, and you'll notice that your mouse doesn't work. So what I originally did was I had that mod probe thing in the GitHub, and that's all in the logs. But somebody said, that isn't how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to blacklist the module, and I did that, and it actually fixed the cursor a lot better. But then I noticed that the USB mouse driver and the trackpad drivers no longer conflict, so you should be good. I did mention how to get Bluetooth. I think I made a video on it already, but anyways, I added instructions for post install because for some reason during the live installer, if you run xbps install su, you'll get like a failed to install grub error for unknown file system. I'm not really sure what that's all about, but if you don't update while you're in the live installer, you're good. So you want to have a network switch though. I think I mentioned that before, or at least a way to hardwire into your modem over Ethernet. And you want a Thunderbolt to RJ45 adapter. You can get those for like $10 and they should work fine. But what you want to do is just install it normally. You want to set Mac US keyboard layout, and everything else is pretty standard, UEFI boot and all that. But once you get into the booted environment, your cursor should work. So the way how you get to the terminal in XFCE without your cursor working is you hit Option plus R and then type XFCE4-terminal and it should autocomplete. Once you're in the terminal, you just install normally, reboot, and you'll still need to be connected to a wire on startup. If you're not connected on startup, or if you unplug it, you lose your internet. And plugging it back in doesn't help. So what you want to do is then run the instructions that we already have. And what that is you have to do a lot of updating. So the first thing obviously is your xbps package won't be updated, so you want to do xbps install -s. That'll sync the repos, so that way you can install the package, because otherwise it'll just make you run it again. xbps install u xbps, that'll update your package manager, and then you can update everything else. So what you got now is you want to do void repo non-free, and the reason why is because the Broadcom WL DKMS module is in the non-free repo. So you'll do that first. First you install the headers. So uname-r gives you your Linux kernel, and it'll be Linux 6.3 is what I was on. So you do xbps install s Linux 6.3-headers, and it should install the headers, and that's what you need to build the DKMS module. That's why we haven't installed Broadcom WL DKMS. And if you follow these instructions in this order, you'll have it's really easy to follow, and it's like the fewest commands I could get it in. So after you install the DKMS module, it'll rebuild, and it'll then run -su. And what that'll do is it'll just update your system and rebuild the interim. So for Bluetooth though, because somebody asked about that, it's really simple. Blues was already installed for me, BlueZ, but I did need to enable the Bluetooth D service, so that's just symlinking from Etsy SV Bluetooth D to VAR services. And after that, I ran Blueman. So you can so then you run blueman-applet, because if you haven't enabled the service, it'll give you an error saying that you have no Bluetooth device, and that's because your service isn't even running. So you run blueman-applet, and it'll load it'll load the applet, and it'll ask you if you want to start it on startup, and you just hit yes. And then if you reboot, you have Bluetooth ready to go. And if you install, what I did for mine is I switched over to KDE, because XFCE's got this problem with it doesn't always suspend properly, and I have to manually suspend, but on KDE it pretty safely suspends every time. So I just installed KDE on top of it, even though you don't really need you don't need to be running XFCE in order to install KDE, but I installed KDE 5, KDE 5 dash base apps, and Qt5 dash tools. And Qt5 dash tools you might want because when you select a picture in Dolphin to set as your wallpaper, the dot service in the desktop it'll call for QD which is a binary inside Qt5 tools. You'll install a bunch of crappy developer tools with it too. If you want to avoid that, just don't install Qt5 tools at all and manage your wallpaper from the KDE settings menu. And that works out too. But after that, you should have a pretty clean desktop. If your mouse doesn't work though, like I said, for some reason if it breaks again or whatever, it's probably because the USB mouse and trackpad drivers are conflicting, so you just blacklist the USB mouse module and it should work. What I was doing before was mod probe -R, and that wasn't really the right way to manage kmods, so I've switched it over to that. But this is kind of the new update, so I'll link my GitHub in the description so you know what you're doing. And you should be good to go with this now. I've run the installer a few times trying to optimize this process, and I think I've got it down to where it works. And also about KDE, Qt5 tools probably won't be required in Qt6, so if you can wait half a year for KDE to update, I think they've got like 250 more packages to go before they fully ported over Qt6 and KDE, or like Plasma in general. But that's about it. Thanks.